The joy we have in Jesus is not built on outcomes, it's built on identity. It's built on something that's firm, not fluctuating. The joy we were made for, the kind that allows us to rejoice always, is rooted in truth. We know there's something fragile about the human spirit. It doesn't take much to knock us off course and kind of ruin our days. A single word can imprison our minds. A single rejection can reroute our futures. We just have something in us. No matter how much we want to pretend that we're in control, no matter how much we want to pretend that we got it all together, we have something in us that falls apart really easily. It's amazing how quickly our inner world can be hijacked by our outer world. It happens in an instant. And when it does, it's really easy to lose the joy and the peace and the hope and the meaning God says we're supposed to live with. But the fact is, our outer world, the one that Jesus promised he's going to come back and make new and set right one day, is so messed up that this is a constant threat every minute of our lives. But we're not the first people in the history of the world to struggle with it. For the last couple months, we've been in this series called The Way We Wait, and we've been digging into these letters that the Apostle Paul wrote to this church that he planted in Thessalonica full of baby Christians. Like, they had just become Christians. And then Paul got chased out of town because they were going to try and kill him, and he wrote a letter back like, oh my goodness, you guys don't know anything. And they were suffering. They were being persecuted because of their faith. They were struggling to live the beautiful lives for which they were made. And so Paul wrote to them about how they could step into that. And at the very end of the letter, he talked to them about how they could steady themselves in the middle of life's storms. He told them, look, we cannot control the circumstances in our society, but we can cultivate the atmosphere inside our souls. And so if you have a Bible with you this morning, open it up to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. I want to zoom way in on 3 specific verses because they kind of form a pattern for the way that Paul writes all of his letters throughout the New Testament. This is the first one that he ever wrote. It's probably the earliest written book of the New Testament. And from this point forward, Paul tends to write letters in this format. He opens with a greeting. He's like, hey, I miss you guys. I want to come see you. And then he encourages the church, like, this is what you're doing great. And then he dives into stuff that's specific to their context. Like, this is what's going on in your community, in your city, that you need to fix. And then he closes his letters with these more universal observations. Like, wherever you're at, whenever you're reading this is probably applicable to your life right now. And it's in that section that Paul writes, rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Rejoice always. Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And I don't know about you, but if you hear that and you're anything like me, you're like, yeah, obviously that's basically a description of my life. Just kidding. I'm not like that at all. I read that and I think of all the commands in the Bible that I stink at following, I bet I'm going to stink at this the most. Because if there's a continuum, I'm closer to never than I am to always on that stuff. Like, how in the world am I supposed to rejoice always and give thanks in all circumstances and pray continually? That it just doesn't feel possible. But what Paul's doing here is actually really profound. And I want to dig into each one of those 3 commands that he gives us. But first, I want to paint a picture of what he's trying to accomplish, because what he's not doing is giving us 3 more religious boxes to check. What he's not trying to hand us are impossible religious hoops to jump through. He's giving us a posture of life, not of naive ignorance, but of rebellion against a world not yet set right. He's telling us how to put down deep roots in Jesus, because what he knows is we need those roots. When the wind and the waves of life hit, if we're not rooted well, we're going to get destroyed. And so Paul says this is the posture that allows you to build deep roots. These are some marks of what a life anchored in Jesus looks like. And the first one is rejoice always, which feels ridiculous. Like, you're supposed to rejoice in every single situation of my life. What about situations that aren't very rejoiceful? I don't know if that's a word or not, but you guys get the point. There are moments in our life where you're like, this doesn't feel rejoiceful at all. Am I supposed to pretend? Am I supposed to be like, oh yeah, this makes me happy? That's impossible to do, even in small things that don't matter very much in the grand scheme of things. For instance, when we bought this building, we inherited a parking easement. So Willis Auto Group, if you ever drive by and like, what's going on at church? Nothing. Willis Auto Group parks all their cars in our lot from Monday through Friday, which means when it snows in the winter, they plow the lot. And last week, we found this. So if you're a first-time guest and you're like, there wasn't a sign for me, it was underneath that stage the whole time. And I look at this and I'm like, is this supposed to make me rejoice? It doesn't make me angry. It happens, whatever. It's very easy to replace. It's not a big deal. But if that like minimalist lady, Marie Kondo, was here, and she was like, does this bring you joy? It does not. It does not bring me joy at all. But then I read what Paul writes to the Thessalonians, like it's supposed to bring me joy. And I think the issue that we have is that we misunderstand joy. Like too often in our lives, we treat joy like it's a thermometer. Like when things are going good, our joy goes up. And when things are going bad, when we got no food, we got no jobs, our pets' heads are falling off, our joy goes down. And our joy is just constantly measuring the situation that we find ourselves in. But here's the deal. Joy is not a thermometer. It's a thermostat. It's not built to fluctuate with every single experience we have. It's built to set the tone for every single experience we have. It's a baseline that determines the temperature of our lives no matter what's going on around us. Happiness might be a thermometer. Happiness comes, happiness goes. But joy is a thermostat because the joy we have in Jesus is not built on outcomes. It's built on identity. It's built on something that's firm, not fluctuating. The joy we were made for, the kind that allows us to rejoice always, is rooted in truth. And that truth is this, that Jesus Christ stepped out of eternity into the human story, that he gave his life so that we could be forgiven and set free, and he rose again and unlocked death from the inside.